Miss Davis. On March 16th, our lives changed forever. My daughter, Anissa, went to work, and I received a phone call saying that she had fell out at work and she ended up losing oxygen to her brain. On this episode of Life After Trauma, I just want to briefly just acknowledge my daughter, Generica Smith. Today is her birthday. She is the big 30, and I just want to say happy birthday to my ace boon coon. She been my number one baby from day one. She has helped me so through this trying time with caring for her sister. It hasn't been easy, but I'm so thankful and grateful for her just being my rock. Lady J, hey girl, this your mom. I just want to tell you happy birthday and that I love you so much. I thank you for being one of the absolute best daughters that I have. I thank you just for continuously just being yourself, and throughout this trying time, still hanging on and still working from home and doing actressing. Girl, you're the bomb.com. I just want to tell you, I'm so very proud of you, and I am so thankful for you, and I pray that you have the most amazing 30th birthday on today. I love you.
Hey, Fresh family. Welcome to Life After Trauma, the podcast, in this series of caregiving. Today we have with us Anissa. Welcome, Anissa.
Hi, thank you.
So I want to jump right in because we go back.
15 years, y'all.
I know.
Crazy.
And it's so ironic that you are experiencing life after trauma. Can you tell us a little bit about the trauma that you've experienced in your life?
Yes. So just going back to this, I guess my current situation in terms of my sister and her health. My sister was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 2020, and in January of 2021, we were alerted at the seriousness of the cancer. The doctor called and said it's extremely rare. We've never seen it before. We don't know how to go about treating this. So we want to start off with surgery and then just kind of see, how the surgery goes. We will pay for everything because, again, we've never seen the type of cancer that you have. So we're going to take care of it, right? They called her in to do some scans, and they saw that the cancer was wrapped around her carotid artery. So they said, okay, we're not going to do surgery because one small nick, that's automatic death. So we're going to try something. We're just going to do chemo and radiation and see how that goes. Went through the chemo and radiation. I think it was about 25 rounds. She went to radiation 5 days a week. She had chemo 1 day a week. And she drove herself back and forth an hour each way, every day.
So wait, just a minute. Your sister at this point was how old?
She finished her chemo and radiation right before her 25th birthday.
So you guys found out she was 24 years old. Mm-hmm. And had she had any symptoms, or what alerted the doctors that there was a problem?
What alerted her, she felt something in her neck. She felt something on the right side of her neck, and she's like, okay, I have a lump. And she's not one to just go to the hospital. Right. But her neck was hurting, so she said, okay, I'm going to go to the hospital. And then they said, okay, well, this is an interesting place for this, so we're going to do a biopsy. Schedule her for the biopsy. Okay, we're going to see if it's cancerous or not. Then she had to go in, and, they alerted her of that. And then in January 2021 is when they said, this is the type of cancer that it is.
At 25 years old?
At 24. Yeah, she was 24.
At 24 years old. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, first bit of trauma. 24 years old, your sister's diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer.
And when they called to tell her the type of cancer, the nurse literally said, I'm so sorry. There was nothing she could have done to avoid this. This is just a case of bad luck. That's literally what she told my mom and my sister on the phone when she called to deliver the news.
Wow, so no idea where it came from, how long it had been there?
They said it didn't come from her smoking. They tested her genetics because they said, oh, thyroid cancer is typically genetic, like it comes from your genetic. No, there was no trace of.
Okay, so she's diagnosed January, 24 years old, goes in for chemo and radiation, and she comes out fine.
She comes out fine.
Okay, tell us what happens next.
So that was 2021, and I noticed earlier this year, so every 6 months they would have her to come in and, you know, do the scans and just check to see if any of the cancer has come back, and they will always give her a good report. And I'll say around this past November, she was complaining of like some difficulty around her neck again.
So about 10 months ago. Okay.
So she had her last visit October 4th of 2023, where she went in and they looked at everything. But she went back in November because she was, like I said, she was having complaints, and they gave her an inhaler.
Okay. Does she have asthma?
She doesn't have asthma. I think they tried to say bronchitis or something.
Okay.
Weird, because she's a thyroid cancer survivor. So if she's having issues here, you would think that they would.
It may be related.
Exactly. No. So I noticed the week before her incident that she called a friend over. She was retwisting her friend's locks. And I'm in the kitchen and she's moving like this, with lifting her hands up to retwist. This is the Sunday before. This is how slow she's moving. I say, hey, Anissa, you okay? And I could hear her breathing. She's like, I'm just tired. Right? This is the Sunday before. And I remember telling my mom a few days later, like, hey, Anissa hasn't come out of her room in hours. I haven't seen her all day. I went to check on her. She's just sleeping all day. But I had a feeling that week that something was off. She was having issues with her car. So I prayed. I'm like, Lord, please don't let her get hurt in a car accident. That's automatically where my mind went. And I told my mom, I said, Janissa's only been eating noodles and like crab legs and rice this week. She's not eating anything hard. And I had also noticed that if we're in this space together, you could hear her breathing. Like it was so loud. And it had just changed over the last few months. Over the last few months. You could hear it getting, kind of louder and louder. So she was struggling with her breathing before she collapsed at work.
So October she went to the doctor and they said everything was fine, and she started having some issues, so she went back in November. And in November, between October and November, the difficulty breathing or just the loudness of her breathing, you guys noticed that?
It increased severely.
So up until March, she sort of just dealt with it. And the doctors didn't say that
to our knowledge, they never reached back out to her to say, hey, we saw this on your scans. So it wasn't until she collapsed at work, March 16th.
Okay, so let's go back to that. Let's go back to that day. So you heard her a few days. She was retwisting her friend's hair, and then you noticed that her breathing was raspy. And then 3 days after that, she still gets up and goes to work.
She still went to work that week. When she retwisted her friend's hair, that was that Sunday before, so like the 10th. And then she had a couple of off days that week, went back to work that Friday night.
Was this her first day back?
The Friday night was not her first day back.
Okay.
I think she may have gone back that Wednesday.
So she'd been working a couple of days.
She had been working a couple of days. That Friday night before she leaves out, she comes downstairs. Me and my baby are downstairs. They do their little fist bump thing. They laugh. And she said, okay, Jay, I'll see y'all later. That's okay, Anissa. Be careful. And she leaves out the door. That night, I didn't go to sleep. And she left home maybe around like 9:30. I didn't go to sleep until almost 3 a.m. I got a call from my mom at 6:30 a.m. on the dot. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
Typically...
How long? 6:30 a.m. She's been at work since 9 or 10.
Like 10:30
okay.
or so.
So she's worked a big part of her shift already.
And my phone rings, and I get up on the first ring, which I don't I don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my phone and I said, why is Mama calling at 6:30? Then I said, no, why is she calling at 6:30? Answer the phone. She like, Jay, y'all got to get up. Janissa's job just called. They said that she done fell out or something, like she was complaining about breathing. Y'all got to get to her. So I automatically jump up. Ironically, my grandmother had gotten to our house the night before at like 11 p.m. My grandmother lives in Birmingham, but she came down for a church event at my mom's church, and so she spent the night. So when we got up, I went in there. We all rushed to the hospital, and they couldn't really tell us much. My mom called us back on our way to the hospital. She was
your mom at the hospital at this point?
So my mom drives 18-wheelers. Ironically enough, she was headed back in from Florida.
She was on the road.
She was on the road, headed back in from Florida. So when she got the call, I believe she was about 4 hours out. So, and most 18-wheelers, you can't go over 70 miles an hour.
Right.
But to get the call that your child has collapsed and they would not give her any information over the phone because she was driving. So she called back and said, Jay, how far away are y'all? Like they won't call back. I called her dad to let him know what was going on and have him call up there so they can release some information to him. And the only thing they said is the only thing that we can tell you is she's still alive. That's all we can say.
Oh, okay.
So we get to the hospital. The emergency room doctor, he comes out. They have a nurse to walk my daughter away. And he comes out to speak to me and my grandmother. He's like, hey, like, he's asking about her medical history. And I said, well, she did have, thyroid cancer. She went through chemo and radiation. You could tell by the darkness around her neck because it was literally, you're burning her skin was burnt off as a result of the chemo and radiation. Excuse me. So there was discoloration. And so he said, okay, so we don't know how long she was down at work. They said that they tried to do CPR. She worked at the airport. They said that one of the coworkers was doing CPR. They're calling the medics, letting the medics know.
So she's at work and she just collapsed, or she on break, or?
So they were on break. They were all asleep in the work van, right? And it was time for them to go back in. And her coworker said she woke up and said, I can't really breathe. And so she went to her bag to try to get this inhaler. The inhaler isn't for what she has going on. So, of course, it didn't do anything. And so he said she falls out. Because at this point... In the van? No, she's made it out of the van, walked around to the van. They made it inside.
The airport, back to the area where she was.
So he says she goes in her bag to try to get the inhaler. She falls out. So they're trying to, hey, what's going on? They realize that she's not breathing, trying to, do CPR. If you're not, I guess, someone who does it often, you're going to get tired. So there's no telling if he was doing it correctly. We're thankful that he jumped in to help.
Right.
However, we don't know, whether or not he was doing it correctly. And then they say the medics took so long to get there. And they're like, hey, she's an employee. And they have medics on the scene. They have medics at the airport.
Right.
They took a while to get there. The medics even called back and say, hey, is the person breathing? They're like, no, we told you she's not breathing. We told you that.
So how much time do you think has passed? You have any idea? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 3 minutes?
They say 4 minutes without oxygen is detrimental. So she was out longer than 4 minutes based on reports that I got directly from
employees. It took them longer than 4 minutes to come.
Maybe longer than 10 minutes. Wow. So they let us know that on the ambulance, I guess they were trying to use the bag. I don't think they tried to intubate her because, again, they didn't know what she had going on. They didn't know the severity of anything. But when she got into the hospital, they tried to intubate her. The doctor said they had a difficult time trying to intubate her. They had to come get me. They used 3 different tubes down there. They could not get it down. He said, so I had to use a 4th tube. He said, and it was very hard for me to even get
her oxygen
into her.
So all of this time that she's collapsed, you're waiting for the paramedics to get there. They bag her, then transport her, then get her to the hospital. And the regular staff can't incubate her, so they had to get the doctor come in and intubate her, and maybe 30 minutes has passed?
No, it was way longer than 30 minutes because I got the call at 6:30, and I think the person from my sister's job, I think he may have called my mom at 6:27.
Okay.
So
there's, yeah.
So my house from the hospital that she was in was an hour away.
Okay.
So it took us all of 20 minutes to get dressed. So we're going to say we left the house around 6:50, 6:55, and then got to the hospital around 7:55.
But
So-
when you got to the hospital, she was intubated at that time.
She was intubated at that time.
But there's no telling how long
How
she
long
had been.
it took.
So the doctor tells you guys, wow. So he comes out and tells you how hard it was to pretty much give her oxygen. And then what does he say from there?
He basically says, okay, that explains why it was difficult getting the tube down. Basically, I really can't tell you anything. We don't know what happened or, the reason for it. And so I kind of, explained to him certain things that I'd seen leading up to it. And he mentions cardiac arrest because her heart wasn't pumping, everything wasn't flowing.
Right.
She wasn't getting oxygen to her brain. So at that time he really couldn't tell us much.
Did he tell you if she was going to survive? If they even?
He said we don't. He
We don't
understood
know.
we don't know.
The same way that they told you about the cancer. Like, we don't know. We've never saw this type of cancer. It's rare. We're going to biopsy it.
We're going to use you as a lab rat because we haven't seen this. We just want to try some things. So we're going to pay for it as long as you allow, That's really...
Okay, so at what point do you guys understand that? Okay, so at this point, is she comatose?
So at this point, they did have her sedated because they're saying, okay, we want to stop her brain firing or this activity. So they had given her some things at that point, but we're sitting in the room with her, and I'm noticing that she's shaking. And it started off like eyelids, blinking. And me and my sister are a year and 7 months apart. I've been there her whole life. I know Janissa like the back of my hand. So I'm looking at her, and I said, I think she's having a seizure. And I'm looking for the nurses. Can't find them. So I'm like, hey, I need somebody back here because something is going on. I'm literally watching my sister's body shake. I need someone to tell me what's going on. Y'all need to come do something. It took, 25, 30 minutes for them to come. One nurse said, oh, that's normal. I said, it's not normal. She left out, go find me somebody else because you're not going to tell me that it got to the point where it got stronger.
So was she alert?
No. She was not alert.
She's sedated at this point.
She's a little sedated. She is sedated because
they've intubated her.
Okay. So with that, they're saying we want to allow her body time to rest. So we sedate her. Put her on a ventilator? Yep, she was on a ventilator. We're going to allow her time to rest, right? Okay. And so they said we'll slowly wean her off. But after backing up, they came and they did give her some medicine because they said, okay, she's seizing. And so at this point, I'm pissed because I've said this 30 minutes, person having a seizure that long.
And so oxygen doesn't get to the brain when you're seizing.
And again, we don't know how long she was already without oxygen when she went down. So they came and administered that medicine. And they later said, we're going to keep her sedated. We're going to wait to slowly wean her off to see if she wakes up. Some of the things that we look for when she's waking up is her fighting, trying to gain consciousness, and one of the normal things for them to do is to try to fight to pull the tubes out, right? They wean her. She doesn't do anything. They slowly wean her. She's not fighting. She's not doing anything. There's no movement. You talk to her, you do this, it's nothing. So they're like, okay, we don't know what to do, right? So after maybe, this happened on a Saturday, I think on that Monday, we're like, hey, how are we going to feed her? She needs some food. Because at that point, she was only on the ventilator. She wasn't getting anything else.
She didn't have a feeding tube?
No, at this point, no, she did not have a feeding tube.
So this is 3 days is gone, and they're saying, okay, now we want to try to wean her just to see if she's going to
wake up,
open her eyes.
So we say, hey, how y'all planning to feed her? So again, I think they tried to put another tube in her mouth. My mom said, hey, y'all already had difficulty putting this down her throat. It's not going to work because of the scar tissue. So these are things that we're bringing to their attention. So they ended up putting the feeding tube in her nose. She had that. It got to the point where her tongue became so swollen. It was literally sitting outside of her mouth. She looked unrecognizable.
I saw her. So let me ask you something about the tongue, because I never saw that, and it was shocking to me to see you guys grow up and to see her as a little girl, and and then to come in and see her really look unrecognizable when I walked through the door. So and she's describing the tongue. The tongue was literally, it looked as if someone had taken a sock and stuffed it in her mouth and it was hanging out. And I asked you guys, like, what is that? What did they tell you about the tongue?
We don't know. Maybe it's because of how long it's been sitting outside of her mouth. This journey has been interesting, to say the least, because going to people who are supposed to be trained and knowledgeable in these fields, going to them with questions and them not being able to answer them and give you an I don't know is disheartening. Yeah. Because if you don't know, then who does?
Right. And you understand that they have a lot of trauma, but they don't see the exact same type of injury. So like they had that, but you never had anyone to have this. But the tongue was, again, so large,
it was huge,
that they tried gauze, they tried everything to get it pushed back into her mouth. So whatever happened, what happened with the tongue?
So it slowly went down once.
Over about a month or so, maybe? How long do you think?
So her incident happened on March 16th, and she had to be transferred to her first hospital. They tried to do a tracheostomy. They failed, but they were able to give her a feeding tube, right? So, of course, that was heartbreaking because we're wanting this out of her mouth. So they had to transfer her to another hospital. They were able to successfully do the tracheostomy. And I'll say her tongue went down. Ooh, I know it was probably over the course of a month, maybe, that it went down. Now having that tube taken out of her mouth.
Okay. Whoa. Okay, so after being transported to the second hospital where they were able to give her the trach, did they try to wake her? Did the second hospital try to do anything to wake her, to make her alert? What?
So she was no longer sedated. So what? She wasn't on any more sedation. So they were just waiting to see if she was going to wake up on her own. And she did not. And she did not. She did have what's called an EEG at the first hospital to test brain activity, and we were told that there was no brain activity.
None at all.
They told us there was no brain activity. And I'm doing my research. This is my sister. I don't play about my people. So I done my research and I was asking them about the shakes. And when we were on the phone with the neurologist, I said, okay, these seizures, are these myoclonic seizures or are these myoclonic jerks? He said, wow, good question. So we didn't see seizures. So these are myoclonic jerks. That's what he said. These are myoclonic jerks.
Which means?
And this happened as a result of the brain, the brain lacking that oxygen. So it's like the brain was misfiring. It doesn't know what's going on. It's used to operating a certain way, and it doesn't have the essential to operate how it normally would. So it's like a shock almost.
Wow. Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
She's been in the hospital at this point a few weeks.
Okay. So, when we get the news about the brain activity, this is a week. Or no, this was not a week. This happened on Saturday. We got the no brain activity news on Wednesday.
Okay.
So less than a week that we got that. And then she got the tracheostomy about 2 weeks later when she was transferred to the next hospital.
And I'm asking you these questions because so many people go through this, and these are the questions that they have. They want to know, what was the time frame? Because my daughter's in a coma right now. This just happened. How long was it before they told you this? So I'm asking these questions because I know you guys will have these questions, and I want to have the answers. So let me ask you this. They told you that there was no brain activity, and at this point, let's go back to you. What were you doing in your life, your career, before this happened, leading up until the time that this happened to your sister?
So I have a 9-to-5. I'm in corporate America. I work as a financial risk analyst. So I work full-time, 40 plus hours a week with that, but I also act. So I'm auditioning. When I got the call about the no brain activity that day, I was actually headed to set. I had to leave the hospital with my sister early because I was headed to set for a Desi Banks skit. So I got that call, and I'm still trying to, keep it together and act as professionally as I can, on a set where I'm supposed to be laughing and having fun. But it's like, these people just told me my sister has no brain activity. And then I'm also caring for, my daughter was 4 at the time. I'm caring for my 4-year-old.
So your mom.
I'm a mom. So it was a lot of things going on in my head. But that Tuesday, actually, I made the call to my job because I tried to work on Monday. I said, I can't do this. I don't know what type of leave is available for me, but this is my sister. Y'all can fire me, whatever the case may be, but I have to do what I have to do. So that's where I was with my career.
And so since then, we're going to fast forward just a little bit. Since then, she was later released from the hospital because did they just release her? Did they tell you what her future may be? Did they give you guys any options? How did she end up leaving the hospital?
Okay, so April 2nd, so this is less than a month out from her accident. My mother and I were called into a conference room with the this new ER doctor at the new hospital. He sat us down with a palliative care team and said, there's nothing else that we could do. They wanted us to pull the plug. That's what they wanted us to do that day, and had the palliative care team in there to say, our job is to make her as comfortable as possible until she transitions, right? So I see you, I hear you, I'm not listening, right? I look at the doctor and I said, okay, you're telling me this, but you're also telling me that there is a lot of fluid and bleeding and swelling on the brain. He told us that her brain had swelled so that it was trying to fit into places and crevices in her skull that her brain wasn't supposed to go. Okay, sir, so what surgery can you do to alleviate the swelling and the fluid? This man did me like this. Her damage is too severe. There is no surgeon that will administer that surgery. It's too severe. we won't be able to get that signed off. I said, so there's no shunt, there's nothing. I asked these specific questions, and what's crazy, I literally have the recording, because don't play with me, right?
Right.
So I'm notating everything from the first day. I'm recording calls. I need documentation of every single thing. And he was just very dismissive with all of my questions. But you're not going to tell me to, I'm not going to say kill my family member, but allow my family member to die without putting up a fight. And then you're annoyed by me asking questions. So based on his recommendation, on what he saw, and she doesn't have any meaningful movements, they wanted to let her go. They moved her out of the ICU because the next week or so, she started breathing on her own without the ventilator. And that's not what they thought was going to happen, right? So they saw that and they're like, okay, which again that's not something that's abnormal, right? Because she's still being fed, and so there are certain functions of your body that will continue to go on. So they moved her from the ICU up to the neuro ICU. And once we got up there, the first day the nurses are, okay, we're going to show y'all how to care for her at home, da-da-da-da-da. We tried to get her to a center here in Atlanta that cares for patients who've had traumatic brain injuries. We told them about it. My mom had spoken to this center. The center said, is she moving? Is she alert? We said no. They said, okay, we have a lower level tier for people in her position. We'll work with her for 2 weeks, and then we'll see, if there's no progress, we'll release her home. Told the doctors didn't sign off on it. So she wasn't able to go to that facility. And then when talking about other facilities, they found one. They said, oh, it's 3 hours away. You see that we've been up here every single day. We spent every night. There was not a day that my sister was by herself. But to think that you were going to send my loved one 3 hours away no. So essentially, they basically kicked us out of the hospital.
Said you have to take her.
They kicked us out of the hospital on May 14th. Her birthday was on May 15th.
The day before her
28th birthday.
Okay. Wow. Unreal. But this is life after trauma. This is how it happens. This is the reality of it all. So now she's home.
She's home.
A month after her accident.
2 months.
March, April, May. Okay. 2 months after her accident, the incident, she's home and nonverbal, unable to move. They're saying that there's no brain activity, and you decide to bring, you and your mother, your family collectively decide to bring your sister home. And now you guys are immediate caregivers.
Yep.
Okay, so walk me through caregiving for your sister starting in the morning. Well, first, let me do this. Tell me how this has affected you to see your sister go through something like this, and then now all of a sudden you're her caregiver, feeding her, bathing her, her hair.
Everything. We're nurses, we're doctors, we're neurologists, we're I don't know the name for urinologists, whatever. We're respiratory therapists because we don't have any of those people to come out to the home. We haven't been able to get that. So for me, with caring for my sister, a lot of people don't know. My sister, she tried to act so hard, y'all. Janissa is as soft as cotton. Like, she is soft. She doesn't like pain. We have matching tattoo. Oh, she's so squeamish. So to see her in the hospital and these people are poking her and prodding her, I feel her pain, right? People look at me, oh, you're so soft, you're so soft. I've had to fight people for Janissa. Guys, girls, I'm the fighter. So I'm her protector. So in this moment, I'm like, hey, what are y'all doing? Hey, I need you to be careful. I'm still doing that because I know in this moment she can't advocate for herself. And even when she was awake, there was only so much that she would say or do without me having to step in to, do it for her. So it was like, I'm assuming the role that I've assumed, my whole life. But it's just difficult because, again, she's not able to do anything for herself. She's very private. Janissa would have never let us see her, right? I'm her only sister. I'm her only sibling. Our rooms are next to each other. Our rooms are separated by a bathroom. She would still come out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped up. I'm so tight. I can't tell you the last time that I've seen anything outside of this. So every day when I'm having to wash her up and I'm having to feed her and I see, private parts of her, I feel like I'm invading her privacy because I know that that's not something she would have allowed if she wasn't in this state. So it's very heartbreaking because I'm used to seeing her get up and move, and now she's 100% dependent on other people. So it's heartbreaking because I know this isn't something that she would necessarily want or, be okay with certain parts of it.
So how do you think she would feel? Do you think she's in agreement with her survival in this state?
Candidly, I'm going to say this candidly. And I've already spoken to my mom because we are her caregivers. No. And I say that because, again, having to depend so heavily on people, being exposed the way that she's been exposed, she has gone through so much trauma in her life, period, let alone these last 7 months, right? So before the incident, she had already been telling people around, I'm tired. And she was saying it in different aspects. She was telling her coworkers, I'm tired. She was telling her friends, I'm tired. But to go through this, I know that she's tired. I've prayed over her. I've talked in her ear. I'm holding her hand. I feel like it's a lot. It's a lot for her. And I genuinely don't think that,
so you
this
feel
is
like
the
if
life
she
that
had
she's...
say so right now that she would say, you guys, I don't want to continue this. How do you feel about that?
I have mixed emotions because I'm still on the side of making sure that I'm fighting for my sister since she can't fight for herself. However, I don't want to be doing it selfishly. I know what I want. I know, what I miss. I know, how my mom feels about it. So I'm honestly kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is only my sister, but that's my mom's child. So it's a difficult position to be in because there's only so much that I can say or do. But I always want to make sure that, again, we're doing everything that we can, but I don't want to do it to where she's suffering. That's my biggest thing. Suffering? In a sense. In a sense.
Where do you feel you would be in life? Do you feel like your situation would be different had this incident not happened with your sister?
I only feel small things. And I pray because I don't want to be selfish in those feelings. So I think the biggest thing that has changed for me is just, again, not being able to get up and move as often as I would like. Being that I do act, there are networking events that I would love to go to. My daughter and her dad, we have an agreement. She's 3 months in California, 3 months with me. So during the time that my sister was in the hospital, I would have been able to, move. I want to have a hot girl summer, but I was taking care of my sister. Yes, I was taking care of my sister. My 30th birthday is on Monday. I planned a whole trip in January. I can't go because I don't have anyone to step in, in my place to be able to help take care of my sister. So for me, it's just having to put things that I would want to do or, on the back burner, which is something I've done my whole life. When it comes to caring for my sister and my mom, I've had to put me, on the back burner so much. So I think that's the biggest thing for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. So let me ask you this. Do you feel like you're missing out on anything?
Not too much, because if I'm being honest, I was never the girl to just be outside.
Yeah.
Lunch date with friends, yes. Let's go get a drink, yes. If I'm on set, cool. But to just be out every day, that wasn't me. But I was getting to a point where I was becoming more comfortable in myself and where I was in the industry. So networking was big for me. And I have a show out right now, so I'm getting a lot of traffic and a lot of people that are recognizing me and they're inviting me to these things. And
So tell me a little bit about the show. Tell me a little bit about the show, because you're literally caregiver by day, actress noon, caregiver at night. So tell me a little bit about the show. And just give me a little insight on what's going on.
Okay, so the name of the show is Tough Love Atlanta Season 2. It airs on Thursday nights on Clio TV at 9 p.m. Eastern. And I booked the show in January. I saw it online late Wednesday night, sent in my inquiry, like, hey, I'm interested. If it's for, a female, they need this role filled. The executive producer, the wife, Ronnie, love her. She messaged me back that Thursday. I'm sitting at the nail shop getting my nails done. Messaged me back like, hey, this is a quick turnaround. This is the audition. This starts filming tomorrow. It's a lead role. So I'm like, okay, cool. Get back home, knock it out, send it in. Long story short, I get the part at like almost midnight that Thursday night. I had to be on set that Friday morning at like 10. It's a lead role. So it has blown. We've gotten a lot of great traffic, a lot of great feedback from just everyone. So I've been recognized from that, and people have asked me to be a part of their shows and everything as a result, which I'm very grateful for. So, just trying to find a balance within everything. And so far, I've been able to do it.
Well, good. God has you.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. When it comes to caregiving, and we've talked about this a little bit, what has shocked you the most about people when it comes to experiencing life after trauma?
I don't think, okay, so me, I'm very empathetic. I will cry hard about your situation and you will, right? It has just been disheartening to know who you are and who you've been to other people, and no one is asking you to stop your life, as a result of someone else experiencing a trauma. But something so simple as a text, a call here and there, and to not have received that from family members is insane to me. Because how are you blowing up my phone a couple of days before this happened? You telling me about what you're going through. You don't care about what I got going on. And then this happens and I don't hear from you. I don't see you. It's disheartening. And showing people that you have this strength for so long, they just expect you to glide through this situation and not break or not have a moment of weakness. And people don't understand that this is literally 24/7. Yeah. 24/7. Again, I mentioned we don't have people coming out to help us in terms of healthcare providers. One, they say there's no one in our area. We live on the outskirts. We don't have this particular doctor that services your area. Insurance, they fought us. She was supposed to get emergency disability, Social Security. That never happened. Now they're telling us 1 to 2 years before we can get any additional funding or anything like that. So it's a lot on me and my mom. I'm talking about feeding her every 4 hours. Anissa eats more than we do. Respiratory therapist. She has a trach still, so we're having to suction it, clean it, everything. She has locks. Anissa gets her hair done once a month faithfully. Even in this state, we've adjusted everything to fit her needs, and I don't think a lot of people understand how much goes into caretaking. She gets a bath every day. I'm talking about everything you can think of, y'all. Lotion. She goes to sleep in a bonnet. Like certain things didn't stop. We're not going to neglect her. And that was a big reason why we didn't just send her to a facility. We still want her to get the care that she does, the care that she deserves. And it's a heavy load mentally, physically, emotionally. The day that the incident happened, my mom, that was her last day driving. So 7 months, she has not worked. Like I said, I'm about to be 30. I have a daughter. We all, live together. So it went from being a 3-income household to 1. I say that I act, but y'all, I'm not Tyler Perry. I don't have that money yet. So it's been difficult because it's been a moment where I've had to pay all the bills. My salary, hey y'all, but sacrifices. But yeah, just not having support, again, a text, a call. We've had people say, oh yeah, I was in Atlanta, but I just thought that the hospital was out the way, so I didn't. And where we live, people in Birmingham, if you're coming to Atlanta, you have to pass my house to even get to Atlanta.
It's impossible.
Literally. And it going back. So just some of the things that have been said, again, people's absences, it shows you a lot. It shows you a lot.
So, you understand, like, nobody owes you anything, and that's really what keeps a little, the strength. And I hear what you're saying. Yeah, no one owes me, but it's who we are, and who you've been to people, and you expect for people to be the same way for you, at least halfway, and that's just not.
A little bit. I think it's fair on one hand to say, oh yeah, nobody owes you anything. But then on the other hand, I can't agree with that statement wholeheartedly, again, because of who I am and who I've been. But then to see people show up for other people, people have their picks and chooses.
Yeah, of course.
So just seeing that has really shaped how I look at certain relationships and certain people. It won't stop me from being who I am. I'm more cognizant of who I am to certain people.
Okay. I understand that. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like there's anything that you could say if you wanted to say something to your family? Like, what would you say if they were all in a room listening to a message that you're sending them? What would you say to all of them that haven't picked up the phone and called? If they have, it was months ago. The family that you spent Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that together, and now this has happened. And what would you say to them?
So I'll say it again, because I did do a Facebook Live some months ago. I won't curse on here. I'm very disappointed, and I'm very disgusted, to say the least. I feel, in a sense, used, because I experience life every day, even outside of this, even before this, but it has allowed me to sit back and see how people operate. It's disheartening. I would never want anybody to be, in a position, even remotely. I don't wish anything bad on anyone, but it costs nothing. Like I said, a text. Something so simple as some encouraging words. Hey, I just want to call, see how you do. Something so simple as that. I'm disgusted with a lot of y'all. I am. And again, like I said before, if you feel like this is for you, call me. Reach out to me, and I will happily give you the message that's specific for you, because it's not just one person. Mm-hmm. It's not just one person. Right. Being candid, Janissa's dad's side of her family, I can't tell you. Janissa has been home 5 months. We haven't seen anybody. Mm. Her aunt, unfortunately, went into cardiac arrest June 1st. One of her dad's sisters. What did we do? Me and my mama hopped in the car and went to Birmingham. My mom sat with Janissa. We have not heard from her since and thank God, that day when they took her off sedation, she woke up fighting, so we knew that she was back. Mm. And her sons are crying in the hospital, and I'm comforting them. I'm boohoo crying. I'm like, y'all, this is good. This is what they wanted Janissa to do. She didn't do it. But we ain't heard from y'all.
So what do you think What do you think the purpose behind all of this? Do you feel like this is a lesson? There's what do you think the purpose is?
My mom has been saying this since March. And this is a message that she shared heavily. Specifically, I know she shared it with, family. I think God is he's trying to tell us something. He's trying to show y'all something. Like, he's trying to show you something. And Janissa's accident was on March 16th, 3/16. I was laying in bed one night and I was going to make her an email account just so I can send all of her documents, have everything in one place. And I'm on my way to sleep and I say, okay, I got to think of a name. And I say, okay, Janissa 3:16. I jump up and I run to my mom's room. I said, Mom, John 3:16. If you don't know what John 3:16 is, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, who should not perish but shall have everlasting life, right?
So you know
it's a message. It's a message in it. It's a message. And it's just so crazy because I've had friends even recently say, I haven't really been arguing with my sister because I think about what you're going through with your sister. I've been trying to stay on good terms with my sister because I'm like, that's not fair because she can't do that with her sister.
Mm-hmm. What has been most hurtful? What has been the toughest part of this for you?
Mentally, I'm a very strong person, but I have broken down so low in terms of my mental state. Mm-hmm. It's heavy. I'm carrying a lot. I feel like I'm trying to be strong for my mom, be strong for my sister, be strong for my daughter. I'm trying to take care of the household. I'm trying to, grow in my career. There's so many things that are weighing on me at once. And I feel broken in a sense. And I don't think people understand that. Even now, people are still calling me, hey, I'm going through this. And I'm still trying to be there for mm-hmm. them. But I get off the phone and I'm breaking. Mm-hmm. I'm crying mm-hmm. like every day. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, it was every day. Now, again, it's and it's hard crying because if I'm all of these people's strength, who's going to be my strength? I feel empty. I feel heavy. So just knowing who I am normally to the place that I'm in now, it's difficult.
You think it's changed you?
It has changed me tremendously.
How so?
I've never been a person that has struggled with anxiety. I feel depressed at times. I'm anxious because I don't know what's going to happen next. Like, my sister had to go back to the hospital 2 weeks ago because her breathing, and she would go seconds without taking another breath. So it's like, we literally don't know. We don't know anything. So it's changed me tremendously.
Has it changed your relationship with your mom?
No, me and Candace have always been.
You think you're closer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, outside of my daughter, there's no one else that I'm that close to, that I've ever been that close to. And we're literally me and my mom literally the same person.
You are.
Our birthdays are 15 days apart, y'all. We grew up together. Like, we're the same person. So when it has come to certain things dealing with my sister and her health, I've had to have very vulnerable conversations with my mom. Mm-hmm. And I told her certain things, and she said, Jay, God knows that no one else could have said what you said to me because I wouldn't have listened. He knew that it only had to be you. Mm. So it has brought us together. I mean, it's brought us closer. For
your
sure.
Grandmother too. Can't take that away.
No.
Yeah. I've experienced watching. I have the pleasure of watching all of you guys interact and be caregivers. One thing I know, it's hard to see your loved one active and thriving, and then look at videos, and then you go pass by the room and see her laying there. Do you feel like this is going to be something that you can endure for longevity? Because some people live like this in this state for centuries, literally. Do you think that's something that you guys, I don't want to say can endure, but you think something you guys you're cut out for? Is it?
This is not something that I want to do long term. And not even speaking from a selfish point of view, I'm thinking about Janisa. My prayer is that I just want to be thriving in my career. I don't want to have any limits, in terms of that. Because again, I still have to care for my family, and me thriving in my career is going to play a big part in that. I just want to be able to get her the help and, care that she needs so that we're able to go out and continue to make things happen. I'm gonna be somebody's wife, y'all, but I gotta be outside to do it. So just being able to get outside.
And so what is dating like since this accident? Are you dating?
That's not a pride. I've tried.
Yeah.
But that's not a priority.
Is there any hindrance in your relationship because of the situation?
I would say if it's coming with added stress, because this is a lot. I'm not just gonna say, oh, my sister's stressing me out, but it is a lot weighing on me.
It is.
But if you're not able to take my mind off or release or whatever, I can't. So again, it's not a priority. If it happens, it happens. Might be the UPS man, because she be getting packages and stuff, but I don't be outside.
Right. So tell us a little bit, just a little bit, her condition right now. So just run us through how she is in this state 7 months after collapsing at work.
Okay, so we were told you cardiac arrest, but a nurse mentioned, tracheal stenosis, meaning like swelling and everything, of her trach area. So they said that she has an anoxic brain injury. She got a shunt placed. She does not speak. Her eyes don't really open. Her right eye will open a little bit. She'll have moments where she'll like move. If we let the bed all the way back, she'll like stretch like this. If we're trying to clean her, trying to open her legs will like contract. But as far as that's
it.
That's really it. She may do move, but when she's coughing things out of her trach, she will cough so hard that her whole body
will raise up,
comes up, especially if she's laid back and we're cleaning her. That's when she coughs the hardest. Because that trach is moving, so it's like it tickles something, it's uncomfortable, so it triggers something in her. But if we speak to her, she doesn't blink, or she's not moving, I can sit and rub her hand. That's all.
So the brain injury, you really feel like there's no brain activity?
So,
or do you feel like there's brain activity?
I asked when she went back into the hospital, I need y'all to check again. When she went to get the shunt placed, I need you to do another EEG, because her last one was almost 4 months ago. I need to see if there's something. And they said, well, there is something, because this is what the doctor said. There is something because she twitches or whatever. Okay, but how much, they still couldn't tell us. They did the EEG and then kicked us out of the hospital the next day. So we don't even have the, they kicked us out of the hospital again. So we don't even have the results from the EEG. Only thing the doctor said was basically like, why do you want that? There is some brain activity because of a little movement.
Interesting. But this shows us that the healthcare industry has lack of knowledge also.
Lack of knowledge and lack of empathy. Please do not go into the healthcare industry for a check, because you'll run into somebody like me that don't play about their loved one.
Mm-hmm.
I had to cuss this lady out in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, yeah. Don't go
They
into it for a check.
It's so hard to put yourself in this situation because you could have never imagined it. When it happened with me and Fresh, you guys said, "You're so strong. We're checking on you. We love you." But you never could have imagined going through it until you actually step in those shoes and start to walk that walk every day.
I told y'all, seeing Miss Lisa, y'all don't know how many times we cried. I'm talking about we cussing, looking at the Facebook lives, seeing y'all in that position, because it's like, how can people, although you've seen this happen to people or, whatever the case may be, how are you acting like this towards a family? Emotions are high. This is something new that they're dealing with.
Right.
So it was disheartening then, and it's disheartening now because it shows, regardless of where you are, people don't care about your people like you care about them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we know that life goes on, especially for us. And we know that we love our loved one that's experienced this, and our life is going to go on, and they're going to be included in it. And the only thing that we can do as people, and being sympathetic and empathetic people that we are, is just stay by their sides and give them just as much love and support, that we can give. And no two situations are the same. No 2 days are the same. You could be fine 1 minute. So how do you, we're going to end on this, but I want to know, like, mentally, how do you cope? What do you do to take care of yourself? I mean, you're young, you're a mother, your career, you're full-time employed, and you're a full-time caregiver. That's a lot on one plate for someone as young as you are. The industry enough is a lot. Being a mother of a 4 or 5-year-old is a lot. Being an actress at Hotlanta, with all of the people fighting for positions, and then you to be, have a leading role. Like, so mentally, how do you keep smiling? How do you stay grounded? What keeps you from crying all day, every day?
I pray, but it's hard. I just started going back to therapy because, again, felt like I was broken. Anxiety, depression. I'm not recognizing myself. I'm literally breaking down. And I don't do a lot of care for me because I need to make sure that I'm home. I need to make sure that I'm, there. I'm trying not to zone out. But like you said, I gotta cook, I gotta clean, I gotta work, it's so much I have to do. So one thing that I had started doing a couple months ago, once Janissa got home, I would tell my mom, my grandma, I just need to go to the grocery store. Y'all, I can't even tell you if I passed by a grocery store. I would just be in the car, like, that would be my escape. So it's harder now that it's just me and my mom to just up and go to the grocery store. But one of the things that my therapist told me yesterday, you need to take some time for you. But for me, it's like, how do I do that without being selfish? Mm-hmm. Like, I know I need that. But again, I'm still trying to think about my mom. I know she need, how do I find that balance? So honestly, I haven't found that balance. I'm here by the grace of God, but I know that soon something has to give because I can't keep going on like this.
You can. And you will. I mean, we have no other choice. It's sad to say. It's hard. It's harder than people can ever imagine, waking up day after day thinking like, wow, this is really my life. Every day, this is what I do. But we do it with a smile on our face. And that's what motivates others. That's what keeps others going, because this will happen to someone else. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, unfortunately. And we have to say, you have to hold your head high. And then it's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. It's okay to, to have a moment of weakness, but we just know we can't stay there long because we feel like, oh, we're being selfish. I'm outside just crying, and she laying in there in the bed and can't get up. So get up, go in there and see about your people. You know what I'm saying? That's the sense that I kind of have it. And I think that's what you're saying. Like, I just have to take a minute. I may cry, but then I go right back to it.
Sometimes I need that minute.
Yeah.
I need that minute.
Well, it's almost your birthday. And what do you have planned for your 30th?
30th.
Oh, my goodness. What do you have planned for your birthday?
Just something small. I'm going to go to the winery, City Winery, and then going to go to dinner with my friends. I was supposed to be on the island, y'all. Island hopping,
Well, we're going to start your birthday off with a sweet for the sweet.
Thank you.
From Nothing But Cakes. So we would like to thank Nothing But Cakes for an amazing, well, it looks good.
Yes.
And I don't want to ask you for none,
Yeah,
but
let's
once
we share. We can share.
Okay, because you don't need all that. But I want you to enjoy yourself on your birthday. If you can take a day for you. And if there's anything that I can do, I'm in Atlanta. I'm here. I try to help as many people as I can. If I can come by.
And she does. She does.
And let you go out for a while, you and your mom. I'll be more than happy to come by anytime I'm in town. I'll come and say, I know Janissa.
Yeah, she loves some Miss Lisa.
I know, and I knew her and I know her. And it's heartbreaking for me to see how live and bubbly, she was to just lay there. And I feel so helpless. And that's the word, because we can love, but we really feel helpless because it's in God's hand. And we just have to lean out into our own understanding and just lean on him and say, I know you have purpose. There's a purpose for this. And it's for us to bring forth awareness. So it's still traumatic brain injury, so we still have to bring forth awareness that this is happening too. You don't have your age, doesn't matter. Your political status doesn't matter. Your relationship status, your sexual preference, none of that matters. Where you come from, what kind of car you drive, where you work, none of that matters. None of it.
Nope.
So I salute you.
Thank you.
I salute you for doing all that you're doing. You're an amazing sister. You're an amazing caregiver. Don't let anyone take that away from you. You're doing for your sister what you would want for someone to do for you. I salute you, and we really appreciate you. And we have a new community. I don't want to say welcome to the Traumatic Brain Injury Survivors community.
Because this isn't a community, that you necessarily want to welcome
family,
people to. Absolutely.
And if you're going to go through it, of course, you want support. And who else to give support to someone that's been through it than you and I? We have to support others, and we have to tell them how we're surviving. Yeah, we cry, and I felt like we were going to be really emotional here and crying today. But God has something else. God says, I need for them to see the strength in you guys. I need for them to see the strength in you, and for other families to see the strength that we have. This is why Janissa is still here. This is why Fresh is still here. This is why they're survivors, because they have people that are advocating for them and fighting for them when they can't advocate and fight for themselves. And it means a lot. So again, thank you for being an advocate. Thank you for being a caregiver. Thank you for being a giver. And we really appreciate you. I know your sister appreciates you, more than she can say, so I'm saying it for her. We love you and we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast, Life After Trauma.
Absolutely. Love you so much.
Thank you. So, guys, that wraps up this episode of Life After Trauma with Caregivers. I would like to again thank Anissa for coming, her sister Janissa, 28-year-old traumatic brain injury survivors. Even when the doctor said that's it, it's in God's hand. So we love you guys. Y'all remember, faith without work is dead. Failure is never an option. No one owes you anything, but please treat people the way that you want to be treated, because you are not exempt. Life After Trauma, we love you. Talk to you later. Bye for now.